very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrew Tan, and I am a teacher from SMK Penang Tunggal. Now, in today's video recording, I am happy to share with you about the organization of ideas for essay writing. All right, so let's take a look at our objective for today. By the end of the session, students will be able to, number one, understand how to score high marks for organization. Number two, identify and use cohesive devices correctly. And number three, avoid common errors in the use of cohesive devices. Okay, if you're ready, let's start. So let's look at how we can maximize our score for organization, which is a key assessment criteria for all the writing parts across the writing paper. All right. Now, for this purpose, we're going to take a look at a sample question for part 2 of your writing paper, guided writing. Let's read this together. In your class, you have been talking about various advertisements for products, and your teacher has asked you to write an essay about it. In your essay, you should write about an interesting advertisement you have seen, why the advertisement was attractive to you, and the ways advertisements can influence people to buy certain products. Use all the notes above and give reasons for your point of view. Write your essay in 125 to 150 words in an appropriate style. Now, typically when you get a question like this, the first thing you need to do is to highlight and label all the requirements. Requirements here means kehendak soalan, what you need to answer to score marks for your content. So if the question is based like this, it is rather easy. All the requirements are the bullet points. So go ahead and label it, highlight it and label it. R1, R2, and R3. The next thing is, you need to cross off the requirements as you answer them. All right? So after you have answered the question, after you have written your essay, always read back and check whether you have answered each and every one of the requirements. When you've done it, cross it off. R1, R2, and R3. That way, you can ensure that you have answered all the requirements. All right, let's move on. Now, how can we score full 5 marks for our organization? The first thing you need to ensure is to make sure your essay is coherent. How do we do that? All right, you can do that by making sure your ideas are logically sequenced, they are appropriately organized, and your ideas are easy to follow and understand. So basically, the flow of your ideas is smooth. So it's almost like a puzzle coming together very nicely. So how do we do that? Number one, you can organize your essay into paragraphs. All right? This is a typical structure that you can follow. It's not compulsory, but it's just a suggestion. All right? So we start with an introduction. And then if you notice, for the body of the paragraph, for each and every paragraph, we will put in one requirement. All right? And then followed by a conclusion. So this is a typical 5-paragraph essay. Don't worry about the estimated number of words. We just put it there so you know roughly how many words you need to write in order to hit the number of words. Number 2, you can also follow this structure. Okay? If you don't want to follow a 5-paragraph structure, you can do it like this as well, depending on the question. So here, if you notice, the difference between this structure and the previous structure is that here we have combined R1 and R2 because it is talking about the same thing. They are both talking about the advertisement that you have seen and why it was attractive to you. All right? And so for paragraph 3, we go into more general details about the ways advertisements can influence people to buy certain products. All right? Let's move on. Okay, what about email? How many paragraphs must we write for an email? So this is a sample essay regarding email. Okay, so how many paragraphs must you write? There is no stipulation, so at least it has to be 1. All right. Now, if your teacher has taught you to write in 2 or 3 paragraphs, it's entirely up to you. But because email itself is a very short piece of writing of not more than 80 words, or perhaps 80 to 100 words, so you don't need to write in that many paragraphs, all right? So at least 1 is sufficient, all right? And remember to leave a blank between each paragraph, yeah? Okay, tip number 2, how to make sure that your writing is coherent. Other than paragraphing, you need to structure each paragraph of the body. Now, your teacher may have taught you different ways, all right, to write your essay. You can follow whatever structure it is that you're used to. But just in case you are still looking for one, I'm going to introduce a very simple one for you today. The first method is MEE. Okay, I call it technique me. You start with a main idea, followed by 2 elaboration. All right, what is the main idea here? The main idea is actually the sentence that answers directly each requirement. All right, and then it is followed by the elaboration, where you give more information about the main idea, and you can give facts, reasons, explanations, or examples. All right, the second structure is MEME, M-E-M-E. Okay, so the same thing, you have 2 main ideas and 1 elaboration for each. So when do we use me or when do we use MEME? Let's look back at the question, all right? Now, we use me whenever the question requires only 1 main idea, all right? And we use MEME when the question requires more than 1 answer, which is in a plural form. Let's take a look at our question back again. So here is the question that we have talked about just now, all right? So let's take a look at R1. An interesting advertisement you have seen. Should we use me or MEME? Yep, you guessed it, it should be me. And why is that? You're only required to talk about 1 interesting advertisement, not more. Okay, let's take a look at the second requirement. Why the advertisement was attractive to you. All right, we should be using me. Again, why? Because the question is phrased in such a way that why the advertisement was attractive to you. It is not stated how many reasons you need to give. So even 1 is sufficient, all right? But of course, you are free to write using MEME. You are free to write with more reasons. You're free to give more reasons if you want to. Let's take a look at R3. The ways advertisements can influence people to buy certain products. All right, so should we use me or MEME? So the answer is MEME. So why do I say that? Because here, look at here, it is required for you to write about the ways. It's plural. So you need to give more than 1 way advertisements can influence people to buy certain products. All right? Okay. Now next, another way to score full 5 marks for your organization is to make sure that your essay is cohesive. What do we mean by cohesive? It means that your ideas are well connected in your essay. How do we do that? There are 4 things that we can do. We can use linking words, we can use pronouns or substitutions, we can use ellipses, or we can use punctuation correctly. Let's go through one by one. Let's go through linking words first. Now, linking words in Bahasa Melayu is typically called penanda wacana, all right? Ataupun kata hubung. Okay? So, in English, linking words is divided into 2 types. The first is called basic linkers. These are your penanda wacana yang bisa-bisa. You dah biasa guna from when you were in primary school. So, what are they? The and, but, or, so, because, firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally. So the next category of linking words are called cohesive devices. And these are actually penanda wacana yang hebat sedikit. So what are they? They are every other linking words other than those which are listed as basic linkers. Okay, so let's look at what they are specifically. Okay, so in this list right here, I've given you 10 categories of cohesive devices. It is not comprehensive, of course. There are a lot of cohesive devices, many different types, too many for us to put in here. But these 10, if you are able to master, it is good enough for you to score A for your English and also to coast for your Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Okay? So the 10 categories are, the first one, cohesive devices to give reason. Number 2, cohesive devices to give purpose. Number 3, cohesive devices to give example. Number 4, to show effects or to make conclusion. Number 5, to give possible reason. Number 6, to give opposite idea or contrast. Number 7, to give additional details. Number 8, to show different options or choices. Number 9, to show emphasis. And number 10, to show condition. All right, you should be familiar with all these cohesive devices by now. And if you're not, it's still not too late for you to do some research on this. All right, now pay attention that those that I highlighted in green are basic linkers. They are not considered cohesive devices. All right, now here are more other cohesive devices. Phrases to give suggestions or opinions are also considered cohesive devices. And here are some of them. I firmly, strongly, personally, or honestly think or believe or feel you should. So here you can pick and choose one from the blue and one from the orange to write your sentence on giving an opinion or suggestion. For example, I can say, I personally feel you should what? All right. The next one, personally speaking, I think, believe, or feel you should. From my point of view, you should. In my personal opinion or view, you should. The way I see it or things, you should. My personal recommendation would be to. From my personal standpoint, you should. I would highly suggest, advise, or recommend you to. Number 9, drawing upon my personal experience, you should. Number 10, as far as I'm concerned, you should. I'm absolutely convinced that you should. As I see it or things, you should. It is my view or belief that you should. If I were you, I'd. I reckon you should. I can't recommend strongly enough. You should, no doubt about it. All right? So feel free to take a screenshot if you need to. Next, other types of cohesive devices. These are phrases that you use to write your conclusion. So what are they? In conclusion, as a conclusion, to conclude, all things considered, ultimately, given these points, in the long run, by and large, in summary, to summarize, overall, in brief, to sum up, on the whole. All right? Feel free to take a screenshot. I'm going to move on now. Here are a list of cohesive devices as well, and we call them relative pronouns. So what are relative pronouns? Relative pronouns are words that we use to give more information about the subject or the noun that you are describing. Okay? For example, let's take a look at what they are. So we've got who, whom, whose, which, what, when, where, why, and that. For example, we use who to describe people. The child, which child? The child who has a blue hat is Canadian. So here we use who to give more information about the child, right? And so on. So feel free to take a snapshot. Going to move on now. Okay. Now the question is, how many cohesive devices do I need to score full 5 marks for organization? Well, it depends on the part of the writing. So for part 1, which is your email, you need to have at least one. At least one. For part 2, guided writing, you need to have a variety. All right? And for part 3, extended writing, which includes your article, your report, your review, and story, you need to have a variety and you need to use it with good effect. Now, what do we mean by a variety? A variety means that throughout your writing, you are using cohesive devices from different categories. All right? You may use one from giving reasons, you may use one from giving purpose, you may use one from additional details, and you may use one for showing condition. All right? And if you need to reuse the same cohesive devices, you're using a different variant. For example, if in my essay I wanted to add additional details twice, so the first time I use furthermore, and the second time I'm going to use another word. What can I use? I can use moreover, I can use in addition, additionally, and so on. All right? Let's move on. Okay, here is a trick. Take a look at this email. Can you identify the linking words used here? Good. Okay. The first one is this is because, and the second one is because. Now this because is one of the most commonly used linking words to write your essay. But are they considered cohesive devices? No, they are not. They are considered basic linkers. So if your essay is written only with these two linking words and no other cohesive devices, the maximum score you can get for O is 3 out of 5. So you lost 2 marks there. So how do you turn that 3 into a 5? You need to replace the phrase this is because with this phrase instead. This is due to the fact that. This is due to the fact that football is a popular sport. Okay, now let's take a look at the second sentence. I think it is suitable for you because you love playing football since you were young. Okay, change because into seeing that. I think it is suitable for you seeing that you love playing football since you were young. And that way you can score a full 5 marks for your organization. Now, other than seeing that, we can also replace that with those in the same family, which I grouped together in the previous list here. Okay, so you can replace seeing that with since or as well. All right, let's move on. Okay, now it's an activity time. I need you to fill in the blanks with appropriate cohesive devices. So this is a sample paragraph that we have written on R1 using the technique that I've taught just now, MEE. So R1 is talking about an interesting advertisement you have seen. Okay, here is what the paragraph would look like. I've broken it down. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is that I want you to do it on your own. You can unpause the video when you're ready to check the answer and we can go through it together. Go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, I'm sure you're ready to discuss the answer now. Let's read together. The main idea. An interesting advertisement I've seen was about the McDonald's fried chicken. And here is the first elaboration. It showcased sizzling, luscious red pieces of chicken, blank, look so crispy and delicious. Now, what am I doing here? I'm trying to add information about the chicken. I'm trying to describe it. So what should I be using here? The correct word is that, okay, which means young. And let's look at the next elaboration. Blank, it featured people enjoying the chicken with big smiles on their faces. Blank made it seem even more tempting. What I'm doing here is that I'm adding another point to this. So when I'm adding another point or additional details, what should I be using? You guessed it, furthermore. All right? Other than furthermore, I can replace it with moreover, additionally, in addition, and other similar cohesive device. Okay? And what should I be using here? The next one, which. All right? Which it means young as well. It is used to add non-essential information. All right? Okay, let's move on. Okay, I've got another paragraph. This time we're talking about R2. So R2, I'm using MEE as well, me. Okay. Again, please complete this exercise on your own. And when you're ready to discuss it, you can unpause the video. Go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, and here are the answers. So blank, you were to ask me about why the advertisement was attractive to me. I would say that it was blank the way it made the fried chicken look so delicious. So the first one is used to show conditional. The answer is if, all right? And the second one, because of, right? Next, let's go to the elaboration. The close-up shots of the crispy skin and the sound of the crunch, blank, made me want to try it. It made me hungry. So here, I've included 2 points into one sentence. 2 points into one sentence, 2 details. So what should I join it with? Not only, but also. All right? Let's move on to the next elaboration. The advertisement featured a catchy tune, blank, is constantly playing at the back of my mind. All right? So here I'm adding another reason why the advertisement was attractive to me. All right? So I added, moreover, okay, the advertisement featured a catchy tune that is constantly playing at the back of my mind. Okay. Now this is R3. Again, we have another exercise. Can you do it on your own? For R3, we have used MEME, again because it's asking for more than one way. Okay? So again, fill in the blanks with the appropriate cohesive device and pause the video. Alright, let's discuss the answer. One way advertisements can influence people to buy certain products is by making the products look appealing. This is done by featuring attractive elements. Vibrant colors, enticing sounds, and happy scenes blank capture people's attention. So what am I doing here on the first line? I'm giving examples of the attractive elements that advertisements use to capture people's attention. So when I'm giving example, what cohesive device can I use? You're right, we can use such as. If you do not want to use such as, you can replace it with like, or for example, or for instance. Okay, the next one. The answer is in order to. In order to means untuk in Bahasa Melayu. Alright, it is used to show purpose. What is the purpose of advertisers using attractive elements? It is to capture people's attention. Next, another effective method is by using celebrities and influencers to recommend the products. Okay, blank. Famous people endorse a product. Their fans and followers trust their opinions and are more likely to buy it. So what is the answer here? When. Apabila. Alright? Okay, great. Now let's talk about the next method you can use to score high marks for your organization, which is to use pronouns and substitutions. So here are a list of all the common pronouns. Okay, you have your subject pronouns, your object pronouns, your possessive adjectives, your possessive pronouns, and your reflexive pronouns. And you also have your this, these, that, and those. Let's take a look at an example of how it is done. First and foremost, I am very happy to receive this award. Additionally, I would like to thank my colleagues. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here accepting this. So you can see from this paragraph right here, I have used 2 cohesive devices. The first one is first and foremost, and the next one is additionally. So what are the pronouns that I've used here? I use them, okay? And them here refers to my colleagues. So instead of repeating my colleagues twice, I replaced it with them. And the last one is this. This here, what does it refer to? You're right, it refers to the award that I just received. All right, so instead of saying the award twice, I replace it with this. Okay? Now, substitution. What is substitution? Substitution is replacing a repeated noun with the phrase the one. Let's take a look at some examples of how we can do this. There are 2 women in the photo. The woman on the right is my mother. Okay? So, what is the repeated noun here? The woman. So we scratch it off and we change it to the one. Alright? And that itself is considered a cohesive device too. Number 2, I have 2 brothers. My older brother lives in Canada. What is the repeated noun here? Very good, brother, my older brother. So I'm going to scratch it off and change it to the older one. I have two brothers. The older one lives in Canada. Okay, I've got one more sentence here. I would like you to do it on your own. Pause the video and unpause the video when you're ready to check the answer. Go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, here is the answer. There are several paintings on the wall. The painting with the blue background is my favorite. So what is the repeated noun here? The painting. So what should we replace it with? The answer is the one. The one with the blue background is my favorite. All right? Next. Another way to make your essay cohesive is to use ellipsis. All right? What is ellipsis? It seems like a big word here. So ellipsis is simply about removing of words or phrases to avoid repetition. Let's take a look at an example. The first car he owned was a Proton. The second car he owned was a Toyota. Now, what are some of the phrases that are repeated in this sentence? All right, you can see car he owned was. It's repeated twice. So scratch it off, okay? And your sentence is still complete. So your sentence would sound like, the first car he owned was a Proton, the second, a Toyota. You do not need to state what is the second thing already because it is already understood. You're talking about a car. All right? Number 2. John went to the store and then John went to the park. Again, this sentence sounds very repetitive. So you can use ellipsis by eliminating the phrase which is repetitive. And what I've eliminated here is John went. So the new sentence would sound like this. John went to the store and then to the park. Now I've got one more here for you to do on your own. Unpause the video when you're ready to check the answer. Go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, let's discuss the answer. One way to stay healthy is by eating right. The second way to stay healthy is by exercising. These are two sentences that sounds very repetitive. So what is the repetitive phrase that I can eliminate here? Way to stay healthy. All right, so your new sentence would sound like this. One way to stay healthy is by eating right. The second is by exercising. All right, next. Now, the last way to make your essay cohesive is to use punctuation correctly. Here, I've listed down a list of commonly used punctuation marks, including your full stop, your comma, your exclamation marks, and so on. Okay? And then it is also about the usage of your capital letter versus small letter. Punctuation will also affect the marks given for your organization. So please pay attention to them. Okay, for the next section, let's look at some of the common mistakes used in your writing about cohesive devices. All right. Number 1, let's look at furthermore. Furthermore is one of the most commonly used cohesive devices. Okay, let's look at the first one, how it is used. James is a good-looking man. Furthermore, he has a kind heart. Now, I use furthermore here to describe James, to sort of like praise him. So first I said James was good-looking. I added more information and said that James has a kind heart. I'm doing the same function of praising him. Okay, let's take a look at another example. I'm staying at home because I'm sick. I've given a reason why I'm staying at home. So the first reason, I'm sick. I want to add another reason. So I add it by using moreover. Moreover, I have lots of homework to do. So here, moreover is used to introduce the second reason. Right? So here we can see that furthermore is actually used to give additional details about something. Right? If you do not want to use furthermore, there are other similar cohesive devices that we can use. Now here, let's take a look at a common mistake, the wrong use of furthermore. I've got a paragraph here. Let's read it together. An interesting advertisement I've seen was about the McDonald's fried chicken. Furthermore, it showcased sizzling succulent chicken that looked so crispy and delicious. It was attractive to me because of the way it made the fried chicken look so tempting. The sound of the crunch and close-up shots of the crispy chicken made me hungry immediately. Let's focus on the sentence with furthermore. All right, that sentence is supposed to explain about the fried chicken that I've mentioned earlier. It is not adding additional information. So the use of furthermore here is rather awkward and it's not right. So we do not award marks for this. This is wrong. Okay, now let's look at another paragraph. Additionally, advertisements can influence people to buy certain products. They do this by using vibrant colors, enticing sounds, and happy scenes. Here, additionally is used to transition from one paragraph to another, but it doesn't quite fit. Because the first paragraph is actually talking about an interesting advertisement, and the second paragraph is talking about, generally, how advertisements influence people to buy certain products. They're talking about two different things, entirely different things. So the use of additionally here is not correct, because additionally, like furthermore, is used to add additional details. All right? So a more suitable cohesive device here would be, on a broader level, more generally, from this example, it is clear that. All right? Next. The second commonly misused cohesive device is, for example. Okay, let's take a look at this. Companies tend to use famous celebrities to influence people to buy the products. Full stop. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo, Nilofa, and Mira Filza. Now we see this a lot in our examinations. This is wrong. Why is it wrong? Because of this right here. Here, for example, is placed at the beginning of the second sentence. So it needs to have a new subject and a new verb. But here, the candidate merely listed down the examples of the celebrities. All right? Now, the correct way should be like this. Now, what is the difference between the second sentence here and the one on top? All right? Take a look at the punctuation marks here. Instead of putting a full stop, I join those two ideas into one sentence. So I put a comma before and after, for example, and I can go ahead and just list down the names of the celebrities. So it is now one complete sentence. All right? Now, if you want to use, for example, at the beginning of the sentence, you can. You can write it like this. Companies tend to use famous celebrities to influence people to buy the products. For example, companies nowadays go for Cristiano Ronaldo, Nilofa, and Mira Filza. So you see, I've placed, for example, at the beginning of the second sentence. But to make the sentence complete, I need to have a new subject and a new verb instead of just simply listing it down. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and list down the celebrities. Right? Feel free to take a screenshot if you need to. Next. The third commonly mistaken use of cohesive devices is the word although. Okay, let's take a look at how although is supposed to be used. So take a look at this sentence. Although Zach is rich, he is miserable. All right? In the first statement, I said Zach is rich. This is a positive statement. And what do we expect when somebody is rich? He has a lot of money, so he should be happy. But rather, it is quite unexpected that he is miserable. So this is negative. One is positive and one is negative, and it's an unexpected outcome. So we use although to join these two sentences, all right, into one. Although here in Bahasa Melayu means walaupun. Okay? Now, you can invert the structure. You can write it like this as well. Zach is miserable although he is rich. Okay? Zach tidak gembira walaupun dia kaya. Okay? Now, when although is put in the middle of the sentence, all right, no comma is needed. Whereas for the first sentence, when although is put at the beginning of the sentence, you need to have a comma after the first clause. All right? So here, take a look at this. So it is used to show unexpected outcome of an action or a state. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Although the food here is expensive, it is nice. Okay, so I'm joining two contrasting ideas here. First, I praise that the food, first I say that the food is expensive. This is a negative. We don't like expensive food because we have to come up with a lot of money. But even though it is expensive, it is nice. So this is positive. So see, I'm using although to join one positive idea to a negative idea. All right? Again, I can also put although in the middle of the sentence like this. The food here is nice, although it is expensive. Again, if we put although in the middle, do we need to use a comma? No, we do not. Okay, so here in this example, although is used to show contrasting ideas. Contrasting means opposite. One positive and one negative. All right? So if we do not want to use although, we can also replace it with though or even though. Although has a more formal tone to it, though is more informal. Even though has a stronger emotion to it. All right? You feel strongly about something. Okay? Other than that, we can replace although with despite the fact that or in spite of the fact that. Okay, let's take a look at how although is misused. Although advertisements make products seem great, but they can be misleading. Okay, now try to identify where is the mistake here. All right, unpause the video when you're ready to check the answer. Go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, have you identified the correct answer? Okay, so the mistake here is in the use of but. Okay, and also the breakdown of the sentence into two. The use of the full stop there is wrong as well. So how it should be written should be like this. Although advertisements make products seem great, comma, they can be misleading. The use of but is not necessary, and the use of the full stop has been replaced by a comma. Okay? So here, although is used at the beginning of a sentence. Now, I can also use although in the middle of the sentence and write it like this. Advertisements can be misleading, although they make products seem great. Again, if I use although in the middle, do I need to use any commas? No. Right? Let's take a look at common mistake number 4, the wrong choice of words. Here are some of the common mistakes done by students. From my opinion, for my opinion, both are wrong. It should be, in my opinion. The next one, in my point of view, it is supposed to be, from my point of view. Next one, in my perspective, it should be, from my perspective. For my standpoint, that's wrong. It should be, from my standpoint. So follow the one in green. Yeah? Next, wrong choice of words. The difference between beside and besides. Students often get confused about this. Now the one is with S and one is without S. Let's take a look at the one without S, what it means. Aiman is my classmate. He sits beside me in class. Beside here means di tepi. Alright, he sits beside me. What about the next one? Football is a popular sport. Besides, it is fun. Besides here means di samping itu. It is a cohesive device used to add information. So the first information that I talked about football is that it is a popular sport. Second thing, I say that it is also fun. All right, so I use the word besides. So be very, very careful. Yeah, the cohesive device has an S to it. Okay. Next, the wrong choice of words. The difference between you, your, and your. All right. So you here means you should choose the sports club. It means kamu. This is your birthday present. Your means here kamu punya. Next one, your with the apostrophe on top. You're my best friend. It is a contraction of you are. It means kamu ialah ataupun kamu adalah. Okay. Let's take a look at common mistake number 7, wrong spelling. This is the commonly misspelled cohesive device. Furthermore. It is supposed to be furthermore. So don't forget the R's inside. In addiction. What do we mean by addiction? Addiction means ketagihan. It is supposed to be in addition. Alright? Lebih-lebih lagi, tambahan pula. Next is the word moreover. It is supposed to be one word instead of two. Next one, in conclusion. What is the wrong spelling here? The correct spelling should be CONCLUSION. To conclusion. This is also wrong. It is supposed to be to conclude. As conclusion. What is wrong with this one? It needs to be written as a conclusion. And so we have come to the end of the video. I hope that you have learned something and that you can score high marks for your organization of your essays. Remember, the tips shared here can be used throughout your essay from part 1 to part 2 all the way to part 3. All the best.